couple of nights ago, I had a really bizarre, funny dream. It was very vivid. I was in a Mexican village walking around with my cat, Coco, this guy. And we went into a cantina, a bar. I sat down on a bar stool, and then he hopped up on the one next to me. And then he said in Spanish, dijo, una cerveza, por favor. And then that means a beer, please. So I looked at him and I looked at the bartender, and they were just like unbelievable. And then I said to myself, nah, this is ridiculous. This can't be happening. It's a dream. And sure enough, I woke up on the very moment when that realization came. And you want down, honey? Okay. And I woke up laughing. Well, I got to thinking about it the next morning, and I realized that dream wasn't as ridiculous as it seemed when I woke myself up laughing. It actually is something I'm now using to help myself. I'm using it to help myself wake up when I discover that I've been thinking wrongly, when I've been in my wrong mind, and then shift over to my right mind. Now, that's why I told you this story, because there's a lesson in it. I can catch myself when that's happening, and I can make that change. And so can you, because we have the power within us. We have free will to make those kinds of mental changes. It can be hard because we can get stuck in a groove, but it can be done. And that's the thing we need to remember and know. Think of your car as if it was, your mind, sorry, as if it was your car. You can stay on the road, or you can drive it into a tree or a ditch. And you can even make it worse. There's damage there. But you can blame the tree for being where it was, or you can lurch along in the ditch and continue to stay in it. Or you can stay on the road in the first place, or find your way back to the road somehow. We have thoughts like this when we think things like, I knew he didn't love me. Or, that old bag, I'll show her. Or, I'm hopeless, I just can't do anything right. We are most vulnerable to that kind of thinking when we've had a bad day, when things aren't seeming to go right, when we're annoyed, frustrated, drunk, drugged, or having any unpleasant, uncomfortable feeling inside our body, or circumstances just don't agree with us. So that's when we find ourselves going into that. We don't have to. Have you known anybody who's been consistently stuck in one of those grooves where just about everything in their life and in the world is all wrong, and there's no hope for making things better? They just make themselves miserable. Now, right-minded thinking, as opposed to wrong-minded thinking, helps us. It's clear, and it's honest, and it keeps us on the road where we want to be. It's helpful. It does not become bogged down with anger and guilt and fear. It can change the way you've been thinking. It can take a wrong-minded thought and correct it. For example, the thought about I knew he didn't love me can become, well, I know he loves me, but right now he's hurting. Or that old bag, I'll show her. That can become, the boss doesn't really realize how she comes across when she's upset. Just let's leave her alone for a while. Or I'm hopeless, I can't do anything right, can become, I'm having a pretty hard day, but I've been doing the best I can, and I'm just going to keep trying. So we can turn those thoughts around. Have you seen the movie Rocket Man? I saw it for about the 6th time a couple nights ago, and I love that movie. I recommend it. It's a biography of Elton John's life. It's realistic. It's superb. It starts out when he was a little boy, and he was in a very toxic and home with very little love. And he wanted to be loved. He wanted to be hugged, just like we all do, especially when we're so little. And, you know, his life got really great when he became famous, but not long after that, it went downhill rapidly. He became his own worst enemy. He was kind of like the guy who drives into the tree or into the ditch. And during the movie, at various times, the little boy looks at him with bewilderment, like, what's wrong with you? What's going on? Or he looks at the little boy and goes, I can't believe I used to be that person. But you know, that scene where he suddenly left a concert and went to rehab was stunning. And in rehab, he succeeded in getting out of all that wrong thinking and into right thinking. That's what it did for him. Or I should say, that's what he used it for. He did it himself. And at the very end, there's a really touching scene where he hugs that little boy. I'd like you to close your eyes for a moment or two. And when you have them closed, I want you to think about yourself and come up with the memory of what you looked like and who you were when you were a little child. You were pure, you were innocent, you were perfect. Be aware that that little child and all its perfection and innocence is still you. It's your inner core. It needs your love. So I would like you to give it some love. Take a deep breath. Hug your child that is your true self. As you open your eyes, make a deal with yourself to stay in touch with that inner child. It's also your inner teacher, because it's not contaminated with all the pain and suffering that you might have experienced between that time and this. Stay in touch with your inner child, your inner teacher that leads you to your right mind. So that's an assignment for you. Stick with your true self. Think with your right mind. If you haven't subscribed yet to any of my video series, I'd like to suggest that you do so. This is a perfect time. I'd like to know what your comments are, your questions, your reactions. And our next one is going to be 5 steps for handling yourself when you become angry. I came up with them for me, and they really help. So don't miss it, and I hope to see you there. Take care.